Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisholm, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Hey everybody, John Chisholm here for the Song Revolution podcast, sponsored by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide, and we do that in a ton of ways. And one of the greatest ways is through this podcast. I love this podcast because it gives me a chance to just connect with so many amazing people around Nashville and the world who are industry influencers, artists, songwriters, just absolutely cool, creative people. And so I hope that you get a lot of value out of it. I hope that you do. I think that you probably do if you're tuning in here again. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary and we're over 40,000 downloads in a year. Now, who'd have thought that was going to happen? I'm going to do a big shout out to my buddy Bryant Urich, who is our podcast producer. Bryant, we've had him on the show before. He really needs to be co-hosting this, but we're both just so busy that it's hard to get together and do that. Bryant has his own business, his own podcasting business. And if you're interested in a podcast, reach out to Bryant at urich.co. That's BRYANT.URICH.co. I don't know what the co stands for, but anyway, he'll do you a good deal, and tell him I sent you, and you're going to love Bryant. He is just an incredible talent. He's a songwriter. He's a musician. He's so cool. He really ought to be doing this show. But anyway, love you, Bryant. Thanks for all that you've brought to the Song Revolution podcast, and we really wouldn't be here without you. So happy 1-year anniversary to us, the Song Revolution podcast. So today, it's going to be a great show. I recently was able to catch up with the Sanctus Real guys, Mark Graalman, and we had Dustin Lolli, who is the brand new a couple of years. Okay, the brand new singer. He's not the original singer, but he is fabulous. He's incredible. They're fun. We had a great time, and I think you're going to really enjoy Sanctus Real. We made a lot of fun of their name, and they're going to share with you the genesis of that name. I kept calling them Sanctus Real, and my wife, my friend Jerry, and Bryant, our podcast producer, all corrected me, so I'm glad I'm surrounded with a group of people who care enough to keep me from making a great big stupid fool of myself, although I probably do it in a whole lot of other ways. So thank you, folks, for helping correct me. But I got to sit down and enjoy a little bit of time with Mark and Dustin. And, we just kind of talked about where the group came from. I mean, these guys have been together since 10th grade. Chris Rohman and Mark Graalman started making music together in their parents' basement in a small Ohio town. They just could not have imagined that they would one day look back after 22 years of touring to see multiple industry award nominations and wins and 24 radio hits, over 750,000 albums sold. I mean, any of us who are artists and travel and tour or are public figures at all, we'd love to sell 750,000 albums. That's awesome. So congratulations to these guys, along with the thousands of loyal fans who followed them from the beginning, even to this day. They just have a solid message of the gospel and of our identity in Christ that's still intact after over 2 decades of touring and recording and writing and all the stuff that goes into having a contemporary Christian music ministry, as the guys of Sanctus Real do so well. They're gearing up for a 16-city tour promoting their new album, Changed, that's due out later this month. I don't know when you're listening to this, but April 27, 2018 is the drop date for their new album changed. I've been listening to it, love it. It's amazing. It contains all new songs co-written with their new lead singer, like I said, Dustin Lolli. I love that name. You know he's been made fun of all of his life. Like, they probably call him Lollipop. I should have done that. Oh, goodness, I forgot. Should have called him Lollipop in the interview, but I didn't. And I don't know him well, so maybe I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, Dustin, if you're listening to this, sorry, dude. I think I just desecrated your name, but I bet you've been called that all of your life, or don't lollygag around, or all those lolly kinds of fun things. But anyway, it was a great conversation. And, this album marks some significant changes in approach and tone that will be both familiar and fresh to the Sanctus Real fans. I loved hanging out with these guys and talking about life on the road, the changes that have been they've been going through, changes in their families as Dustin stepped out of a 14-year ministry with his wife and joined Sanctus Real. He's already performed over 150 shows with the group, and they're just bouncing back even stronger with even greater resolve through writing and producing Changed. It's just a continuation of a great ministry and a message that has become known and loved as Sanctus Real. So sit back and enjoy with me Sanctus Real, Mark Graalman, and Dustin Lolli. Great. Well, man, I'm sitting here with Mark and Dustin from Sanctus Real. Good to have you guys.
Yeah, good to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's so fun. I've been corrected 3 times in the last 24 hours for calling you guys Sanctus Real.
Get it out of the way quick, Mark.
Yeah, it's not a strange thing that would happen. That's okay.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I guess I'm a little too liturgical, trying to pull out the Latin pronunciation or something. So how'd the name come about?
So basically, when we started the band, I was a little younger, 18, and I was basically looking through the dictionary trying to find another word, and I saw the word Sanctus,
Sanctus.
Which, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I didn't know at the time that it's properly pronounced Sanctus because I was an 18-year-old white kid from Ohio. I had no idea about anything. But I read the definition. I mean, obviously, it grabbed my attention because I thought of like sanctuary or sanctified. Like I thought it must be that word's got to be tied into those words somehow, and I knew what those words meant. It said in the dictionary that it's a hymn of praise sung at the end of the Eucharistic liturgy. It's like in Catholic churches at the end of the liturgy they sing Sanctus, 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 and they're singing Holy, Holy, Holy is the Lord. So I thought that'd be a cool name for a Christian rock band, which me and my friends were trying to start this little band in Chris's basement at the time. So we got presented the word Sanctus to him, and there was a guitar player in the band at the time who wanted to use the word real in the band name. And so we literally just said, okay, Sanctus Real. I guess that's it. And 22 years later, I'm still explaining what that means.
Yeah. You're still explaining it. You do a fantastic job, Mark. That's great.
Oh, thank you.
And it's still mispronounced, but it's all good.
But it's on purpose now.
Yeah, right.
Still, so you guys, you and Chris, right, met in 10th grade and started doing some music together, and 22 years later, here you are, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how life can work sometimes.
and if you do the math, you find out that Mark just turned 40 this year.
Wow. That is also true.
Last month.
Happy birthday to you. It's great, man.
He looks great, though. He still does.
Looking great. Well preserved, man. You got a little salt and pepper in that beard, but hey, it's fun. Yeah. So now, do you guys all still live in Ohio? Are you still based there? And you hadn't made the Nashville plunge, huh?
This starts a little bit of an issue between us because yes, Chris and I still live in Ohio. We never made the move to Nashville. Stayed here all these years. And we forever have been an Ohio band, kind of born and raised and formed everything here in Ohio. And then we decided that we're going to have this new lead singer come into the band, and he's from Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. What town in Michigan, Dustin?
So the whole southern, eastern side, I was born in Detroit. There aren't many of us who say we were born in Detroit, but I was actually born in Detroit. And I kind of split my time between a little town called Adrian and Detroit area, Warren area. So kind of this whole area I've been a part of since birth. And what these guys don't tell you is that Chris lives so close to the border of Michigan that if you stand in his backyard, you could throw a baseball into the state of Michigan. So they say they're from Ohio, but there's a little bit of Michigan rubbing off there.
Yeah.
The problem is the states have this little thing where they don't like each other too much. Although for us, it's just in jest, and they're good.
Most of the time.
They're close enough to Michigan that I can accept them as my friend.
Bit of rivalry going on between Ohio and Michigan for sure. Yeah.
Slight.
I just served at a church in Grand Rapids for 5 years. And so we're kind of honorary Michiganders. And, I say that I thought God forgave my sins, and then he sent me to Michigan for 5 years.
Well, you actually picked the nicer town probably to live in Michigan, Grand Rapids. I lived there a few years. I went to Cornerstone for a little bit there.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah, 1 year we had 112 inches of snow. I mean, that even for them, that's a lot of snow, right? And so we made the best of it and got out and did some cross country skiing and all that. But I mean, your blood has to change if you're going to live up there.
Well, I was born here, so I think it's just it's quite normal.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, all the snowbirds go south, the winter time anyway.
And for about 5 months out of the year, Michigan is one of the most beautiful states,
isn't it?
It is. It really is, and it's just that 3 months, the real 3 months of real winter, as it just starts feeling really long and really cold.
It does, but man, the spring, summer, and fall. I mean, it's unbeatable, and people that haven't lived up there or been there much, they don't know.
No, they don't. All we think about is winter, but man, the other seasons, there's nothing like fall to me in Michigan. It's just a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, and Ohio's nice too.
Well, we can celebrate God's creation and wherever we are, right? But anyway, well, back to the show. We can talk about Michigan all day. The tulips and they got the greenest grass up there. But so here you guys are releasing a new record and coming out April 27, and. I've been your PR person didn't get me the whole record, but I've been cruising through your website and great songs, different sound, in some ways, but wow, it's so awesome and so powerful. And why don't we talk a little bit about your record?
Yeah. The record's been a process. I joined the band almost 3 years ago now, probably maybe a little over 2.5 years. And when you join guys who've already had a lot of success, obviously. I was a worship pastor, and I've written songs. Before I actually came to Sanctus, I was singing with my wife in what would kind of be called a folk duo. It's kind of a folk pop type of thing. Very different style than the CCM world. But in doing that, I'd written a lot of songs. But when you come together with guys who've written a lot of songs, you have to learn each other. I mean, you have to learn how to write. You would know that as a songwriter. Kind of have to find out where the other person, where their strong points are, where they are comfortable. And I think we came out with a 3-song EP that I was pretty proud of to come out that fast with something. But we wanted this record to be something that kind of exemplified and kind of showed all of us in it. In a way, and didn't want it to just be something that, we know we have to write for radio. We know we have to write certain things. We want to hit our market. We're not trying to be obstinate or that kind of thing. But at the same time, we wanted a level of creativity, and we wanted to be able to represent us as a group of guys. And so the record took a while, and I think it took a lot of patience and a lot of growing. And I'll be the first one to say that I love this record. I love what happened with it. I love, and I think more than anything, it's a whole record. There's not a song on this record that I couldn't say does not represent us or where we're at personally or who we are in a way that I'm incredibly proud of to have as a kind of a first record for us as a band. And so I'm excited. I'm really excited to put this out. This is my first full length, and I couldn't be happier with what happened with it.
Wow. Well, congratulations, Dustin. And from what I've heard so far with Changed, I mean, great. Is that going to be your first? That's your first single that's already. Is that right? Is that the first one?
This single was a single called, from this record, was a single called Safe in My Father's Arms.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm on a fast track here. But that's cool. Love that one too.
And then we put out Changed we actually put out the song Changed. The record's called Changed, which can get confusing at times. But the song Changed, we put out kind of when the hurricanes took place, we kind of used it as a fundraiser. We actually never released it as a single to radio or anything. We have a single at radio right now called Confidence that was released just a few weeks ago. And that song is, we're very happy. It's doing pretty well right now for where we're at. And, we're just kind of excited where the future is. It's been an up and down struggle. It really has. I mean, we've had some high highs and some really low lows over the past couple of years. And this record kind of represents where we've been and where we hope to go all at the same time.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we can dig into that some more if you want. I do want to talk about the songwriting process because you mentioned, I mean, this is the first time you guys have kind of collaborated together. So I'd love to hear about how you divvy up the song duties. Like, do you just kind of co-write everything, lyrics and music, or what's the whole process like for you guys?
It's a little different for us, I think, in a lot of ways. We're very flexible on it because I think a lot of these songs came up from Chris and I in a room and just kind of messing around, trying to come up with ideas. And we've done anything from, I was telling a story, one of my favorite songs on the record. I don't know if you guys have ever had anybody do this before, but it's just kind of the way my brain works. We did a writing retreat basically with some of the guys, and before it started, I sat them down and just said, tell me what's going on with you personally in your hearts. Just don't worry about a song. Just let me know what's happening in your life. And I don't think they fully realized that I was taking notes on everything. And as we sat down to just play music, I'm kind of more of a lyricist, melody type of guy. And so as we were sitting down to do music, I was trying to take their ideas and build songs around them. And one of my favorite songs, called Survival, was actually Mark, from lines that Mark had said, and it kind of triggered the entire song. And then we did the music together. So all these songs honestly have been a little bit different. Some of them we've gotten these great ideas, we thought, and then we have some buddies and some people in Nashville that we've co-written with. We took them, we wanted to finish them, and we wanted to get some other ears and just talented people on them. And so some of our co-writes, but I will say this, almost every song on this record comes from a place. And one of the things that we were the most focused on and probably took the most time was, no matter the process, we wanted the song to represent us and where our heart was. And it took some time to really kind of hone in on some of the ideas and then perfect kind of the lyrical process and that kind of stuff. Generally, the way it works is Chris is such an amazing, he puts music together so well, just his guitar parts and that kind of stuff. I was doing a lot of the lyrical melody type of content, and Mark's just an incredible drummer.
Yep. He's just a drummer.
No, Mark's amazing. And we just had, I think people ask us what our process is. Our process is to flow. I think more than anything else is to really understand that music is flow in a lot of ways for me. I'm more of a loose type of guy anyway when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I love when you can get into a flow with something. And sometimes, it can be a lot of work to write a song. And then sometimes it's just super easy and it happens. And those are great moments.
It's great. Now, a minute ago, you said that you wanted songs that just represent you guys, that you said it's us. So I know just from kind of researching you a little bit that identity in Christ is an important element, or has been historically, but kind of take us inside these songs a little bit. And when you say it's us, or you want it to represent you guys, what does that really mean for you?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Mark, you can jump in there.
It's got a good beat and it's easy to dance to, right, drummer?
As long as there's a killer sweet rock beat.
As long as you got some perk.
No, yeah, I think you actually hit the nail on the head. It's always been a big thing for us, trying to express our identity in Christ and what that means in terms of whether we're walking in that strongly or going through a season of not walking in it so strongly and struggling with it and not trying to understand, the world around us and, what it means for us to live in this world and all the things that it'll throw at you as a believer and as a follower of Christ. And the majority of our songwriting over the years, I would say, deals with that struggle. And I think going into this new season, we still touch on that quite a bit. But I think the refreshing thing about this record is that there's a little bit more of the theme of, I think we're walking a little more victoriously these days in that identity in Christ. Yeah, and embracing the joy that God's come to give us, and yeah.
It's a realization, I think, if you listen to some of the songs, Safe in My Father's Arms, even Confidence, they're kind of a statement of faith. A lot of our Christian music is, God, where are you? Help us, help us, help us. Mm-hmm. And part of the identity in Christ is to recognize that because of what he's done, that our situations don't define us anyway. And I think over the past 2.5 years, I know from myself personally, and I think I can speak for the other guys to say, this has been 2.5 of the most topsy-turvy. You better have some confidence in who you are, or it will tear you up and spit you out. And, a lot of these songs come from this place of, if this all fell apart and there was no more band and there was nothing left, where would we be anyway? Like, who would we be? And song like Safe in My Father's Arms talks about being in a dark place, but understanding because of who you are, we have a purpose regardless. Right. And I think as Christians, sometimes we tend to forget, because situations are bad, that we're actually called to do something no matter what position or state we're in. Paul said, in every situation, I found the secret of happiness, and that I find that I'm content. And contentedness, I think, is something that we forget about a lot of times. That, Paul went through all sorts of terrible stuff. Yet he could say he was content because he knew who he was and he knew who Christ was. And even to death, right? Like, his hope went beyond death. And so for us as Christians, and in this record, even a song like Changed or Confidence, all of the main ones are kind of like, we might be in a tough spot, but our hope isn't that he's just going to rescue us from our situation. Our hope is that he already has rescued us, and that it doesn't matter where we're at. We know who we are. So it's kind of a prayer in a way. This new song, Confidence, it's a prayer, because it's saying that I'll do what you ask me to do, and I'll do it because I know that you're with me, type of a thing. So I think for us in the season we've gone through, I know in the past the songs, they're very emotional. What we were really hoping with this record, more than just the emotion, was that there's joy and completeness as well. And we want this record to inspire people and say that even though you're in a tough spot, man, you have so much hope for the future. And it's more than just being victorious in this life, because you're already victorious, and it doesn't have anything to do with your situation around you. It's that you're called to be something every single day. So that's kind of where our mindset was with the songwriting through this process.
We're going to take just a quick break and talk about something that I think is going to be very valuable for you as a Christian songwriter. So check it out.
Do you feel like God's given you a bunch of songs, but you don't know what to do with them? Do you feel like you've got a real call on your life to write, but you're clueless about where to start? Or maybe you've got writer's block and you're wondering if you'll ever get the creative juices flowing again. Well, we've got you covered with NCS membership. NCS membership is all about community and how to grow in this calling you feel deep inside to be heard. We get it. We know that you just want to honor God with your talents and be a good steward of what He's given you. And that's why NCS membership could be your next right step to grow, learn, be challenged, get connected, and ultimately fulfill your dreams to glorify God and reach others with the same passion you feel. It's designed to help you tell your story and to reach listeners who will love your songs. With your NCS membership, you'll receive 2 free song critiques, 24/7 access to valuable masterclasses on topics such as modern hymn writing, worship writing, song form, lyric development, and recording home demos, as well as discounts for other NCS products, and a deep connection into a community of creatives who get you. There are a lot of songwriters out there, so you need to be the best you can be to stand out, be heard, and become the songwriter you were born to be. Just go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com now to check out all the great benefits of becoming part of a decidedly Christian community of songwriters from all over the world. NCS membership, your next right step to being heard.
Well, I just hope that you'll take advantage of that and check it out. All right? We bring you good stuff here on the Song Revolution podcast. So back to our episode. As you get ready for your 16-city tour at the launch of the record, are you touring before it launches or as it launches? Because I thought some of your dates were April, but the record doesn't come out till like April 27th. So how's that working for you?
Yeah, it'll be, the majority of the tour is going to be before the record comes out.
We'll have it on tour with us, though.
Are you going to have product? You're going to have some merch?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just got this massive shipment, a pallet full of CDs is sitting in my garage right now. Delivered today.
Great. Yeah, you don't want to miss the back of the room sales, man. You got to get that. So as you're preparing for 16 cities, are you going to be sharing some of the highs and lows as you introduce songs? Or kind of how are you putting your show together?
We do. We've been playing a few of these songs for the last few months, and we do. There is a story to almost every song on the record. We don't tell them all. We love to play music, and so we try to get as much music in there as we can. But we have these definitive ministry moments, and we love them because you see how people respond to a message. And the song "Changed" has been a big song live. That song, because I think everyone can relate to the verse that says, "He who began a good work in me is faithful to complete it." Because all of us, nobody feels like a completed work. So it's kind of this all-encompassing thing. So this tour, we do. I mean, we only do this because honestly because it is a ministry. I think even moving it forward, we sat down many times and said, the only way we're going to do this is because there are still people who want to hear about, who need to hear about Christ and need to hear about what He's done. And so we're not going to tell probably as many stories on this tour as much as we have, but there's definite ministry moments built in where we want people to understand why we wrote a certain song so that they can understand what the song means to us as well.
Right. So there'll be some preset moments, but you're going to spend most of your time on the great music that you've put together. And I'm sure being doing songs from the last 20 plus years of recordings. And is this the 8th? Is that what I read? This is the 8th one?
Yeah.
Yep, 8th full-length album for Sanctus Real. Yeah.
Wow, man! Congratulations, that's awesome. You've been nominated, won some awards, but it just seems like that's probably not the heartbeat of what you guys are about. Sharing authentically. And tell me a little bit about the cabin sessions. Is that when you did all your co-writing stuff, or was that a special? Did I just miss what that was? Because I loved that. That was
That was just a special kind of band moment that we had. None of our co-writes were there. I think we had 2 or 3 songs come out of that. And that was just let's get away. This was still somewhat early on in my journey with them.
Right.
And it was wild. It was, it's a stressful period.
Yeah.
And,
well, you were totally rocking the hoodie jacket thing. That was really, you really had that going on, man. That was really awesome. But
I had, at that point, man, I had never done the CCM thing. I'd always been a worship pastor or done my own with my wife type of stuff. And so just everything about this world was new. And I think people forget that sometimes. and you're a part of this band. You should be experienced. And everything at that point was like, what do I do? What do I do? Guide me, lead me, move me. And so it was such an amazing and terrible and awesome experience all at the same time in the beginning. And that cabin session was let's get away, take a breather from everything else, and let's just be creative, because being creative is, to me, one of the most life-giving things, is just kind of putting it all away. Even sometimes when, sometimes we write songs and we know we need a radio song. Those are stressful to me because it's not, you have to force it, and we do it, and I've learned to enjoy it. But I love when you can get to like just a creative place and you just put it all away, and with guys who are creative, and you can just sit and explore. That's so life-giving to me. And that whole cabin sessions thing was kind of this, let's just go somewhere beautiful. Let's sit down. We talked, like I said earlier, and let's just sit down and make music and see what happens. And we had some cool stuff come out of it.
That's great. Now, what other kind of inspiration do you have? I mean, you got the Bible, you got the Trinity, you got, the things we look to, but how about reading or listening or your influences? What kind of feeds your souls?
I love to read. This is going to sound interesting, but I'm a huge fiction guy, in the sense of I love how a story can lead us to something good. I love a C.S. Lewis type of book. I love a lot of that stuff. But for me, a lot of the inspiration that I find, and what's kind of cool is I think we're all so different in this. A lot of my inspiration is from either listening to brilliant music. I love this is gonna sound strange, but I love classical music, orchestra music.
Oh, you're so weird. You're so weird, man.
And I will just sit and kind of get lost into that. And I find that I don't know why, but I've always seen felt God in just the simplicity, which is not simple, that kind of music, but in the beauty of the movement and that kind of stuff. I love reading, obviously as scripture, but I love reading kind of more lyrical type stuff, kind of prose type stuff, just something that gets me flowing. I'm not a theology guy that gets inspired by theology. I went to school. I know some theology. But I've always been more intrigued by the arty type stuff, where I think like a Chris Rohman, who's not on here right now, he loves music. But he's more of a put it together type of guy. So I would say that our strengths, they really help support each other, because probably in areas that we both we're not great at, we kind of support each other. I know I'm just speaking for Chris, and I know Mark's our pastor. We love Mark.
He's just a drummer.
He is a pastor, by the way. He is a pastor, just so we're clear.
A youth pastor. I do youth ministry in my church. Yeah. So
okay.
Pastor junior hires and snot-nosed kids, and it's awesome.
And for the young at heart, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's cool. So did you go to, I mean, you guys just kind of came right out of high school and started doing this whole band thing, right? I mean,
yeah. If you were you gonna ask if we went to school or something?
I stopped myself. Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of stopped. I mean, it's like, I get it. Yeah. You're a musician. You're a band. You've lived on the road.
High school, apparently.
Yeah. Yep. No college for me, but yeah, a lot of years on the road dogging it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, I didn't finish an undergrad till I was 48 years old. So, there's still hope, man. I was on the 30-year plan trying to finish that up, but I did it for me, and I'm glad I did it. But there's so many people that are self-taught and know as much or more than anybody that's done the degree thing. So I think as long as you're communicating in the way that you want to and communicating the heart of God the way you feel led to, that's cool. Yeah. So
I have 1 year left, so I'm joining you on the 30-year plan. I just haven't gone back because I had a steady job. So
yeah, right. I got in the music business early on and had several careers before I ever went back and did the whole school thing. But one of the things that I always try to encourage my songwriting clients to do is to resource themselves. to really continue to feed their souls and to not sit down and try to write on empty. So that's why I try to ask questions like, where do you draw your inspiration?
Yeah.
So, and obviously listening to all kinds of music, you get musical cues as well as lyrical cues, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very cool. Kind of looking ahead, you've got this tour coming up, the album coming out. What keeps you going? What's the real inspiration? Of course, you're going to say Jesus. I know, because he's everything. But,
I wasn't going to say Jesus.
You had to. You have to say Jesus because it's Christian music, and it is. And we know that it truly is. But where do you find the most satisfaction, and what keeps you getting on the bus and eating at the truck stops and doing what it is you guys are going to be doing? Mark's smiling like, what a question.
No, it's not good at all, actually. For me, having done this for so long, and obviously coming to a point where, for us, our original singer ended up leaving the band and all that, it's like that would have been a pretty good opportunity to quit the whole thing. But there's just something about when you know that God has called you to do something, and it's just something that's in you to do. It's like my whole life, I just felt like I was designed for this, like created to do this. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know, just simple fact of things that, how many musicians are out there and how many really get to do something like this, and how many bands really get to say like, yeah, we signed a record deal, and actually this whole thing actually worked, and we pulled it off for 20 years. It's like those kinds of things aren't just on accident. It's I think what keeps me going is just knowing that God's hand is in it still, and His calling is there, and it's what I was made to do. There's no place. I told my wife once, like, there's no place that I feel more like I'm in the presence of God. People want these crazy worship experiences. Like for me, it's sitting behind a drum set, just playing a song. Just playing a beat is where I feel one with the Lord, So yeah, it just keeps me doing it.
It's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
That was, man. I've kind of teared up. And
I don't want to follow that.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I feel one with the Lord when I'm eating mashed potatoes or something. So.
Yes.
I'm okay with that too. I find, the Bible says that God's, He's all around us, and in Him we live and move and we have our being. So, like, I find eating mashed potatoes makes me very aware of Him.
Why not?
Right? Yeah. I think I was in ministry before I joined the band, and I believe that, one of the reasons why I did it, and I think people are under the assumption that when I joined the band, everything was, the band was established, everything was good, it was an easy jump. And it really, Mark will vouch for this, it really couldn't be farther from the truth. It was an incredibly difficult time for everybody that was doing it, because everyone was in an unknown. It was unknown for me. These guys had never been in a situation like this before. They didn't go out and find an already established guy who had a career somewhere and a name like some of the other bands that have done this did. They just found this guy who would lead in worship at a church in Michigan. And I think in a lot of ways, as we went through the process, I was already in ministry, and I felt like I was called to ministry, and I've been called to ministry. And when you go on the road sometimes and you see the impact that you can have on people, simply because you're in a band that people know, they listen and they respond sometimes in a way that they don't in a church, because they hear you constantly. And there are these differences between the two. And I've been in a local church for the last 14 years doing ministry, and now I'm seeing how you can go in and give hope, and people will listen. It's a different kind of ministry, but it's one where you have a voice, and you have a voice that moves people closer to Christ. And I also need my family to eat. That's a big part of it.
Mashed potatoes.
I don't not that at all, right? And my family, you know, my wife, who's actually in the room right now, she's hiding. She sacrificed for us to get even to this point has been major, because I was never on the road like this. This is all new to our whole family, and I think both of us have felt this real calling. I think how it came to be, how it was so out of the blue, nothing that I was ever pursuing, and I think all of it, and I felt like God's hand was on it. And once we're this far in, I'm not stopping until I find out where he wants us to be. So I feel like in a lot of ways, my motivation to continue this, because it has been tough. We almost quit a couple months ago, or at least wound it down. Maybe not quit, but we were really in a place where we needed to figure some stuff out. And it was at that season that all of a sudden things started falling into place in a way that we had not anticipated at all, which is the way God works a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was this wake-up call that I believe that we're doing this not because, and I'll be honest, none of us care about being celebrities. We really are middle-aged guys who just like making music and like Jesus a lot. And otherwise, there's no point to do this right now. So I think at the end of the day, we recognize God's hand in it, and we've seen it kind of over and over, and it's kind of what our record's about. We've seen it in the darkest places, that every time we've needed something, we've just needed to be aware of him. Something has happened where he's just kind of nudged us forward at some of the most difficult times, and that to me is a motivating factor in a lot of ways to just keep doing what you're doing, and you know, keep your heart in the right place, and just move forward, look forward, not behind. You know, the music industry is you better have some thick skin, right? Like, a lot of people are not going to like you no matter what you do, and it took me a little bit. I've realized that, and you know, it's this constant process of accepting God's call over my life and not some random guy on the internet somewhere. So,
boy, that's good, Dustin. And you know, it's really, really true that anybody that's been in ministry for over a week, you know what a sacrifice. You know?
Yeah.
And when you said the high highs and the low lows, I started to kind of nudge into, you know, the family situation, because it's been such a huge change for you, and you know, it would be for anybody, but it is an extreme sacrifice. Not just for you. You get to get out on stage and have fun and sing. And you mentioned that you and your wife sang together a lot. And so you've gone from a duo with her, listening in the background. We're praying for you, sweetie. We know, you know, to you know, now you're the front man for a great band with great history, and you know, all the hits and everything, and the accolades. So, you know, I know she doesn't want to come on camera and on the audio here and talk to us, but, you know, we recognize that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say from my pastor's heart, is we recognize her sacrifice. And I've been in ministry for 42 years, so my wife has made tremendous sacrifices, but hey, she still loves me today. She still likes me, so... That's good, man.
I think. Right, baby?
Right.
Oh, that was a perfect setup for who are you? I don't even know you. That's great, guys. So what's your favorite way for your fans to interact with you on social?
Oh, man, we're all like old enough where we're not good at social media at all. So
yeah, we try, man. We try.
We always hire millennial bass players to help us with our social media interaction.
There you go. Hey, thanks for the honesty. Wow, that's great. That's great. But hey, you've got a great website, because I've been cruising all over it, and you know, it's kind of figuring you guys out, and great tunes, great stuff. So at least you've got the website where they can go check it out. Right?
Yeah.
We have the social media, but it's just, you know,
we're on there.
Personally, we're just all personally terrible at it, but we do check up on our band social media at least once a week.
I made a couple posts for Good Friday on Facebook.
Great. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're gonna be sending some coaching your way then, for the social thing, so that you can build up your fan base just a little bit more. But I'm sure when your PR people hear this podcast, they're gonna be
come on, man.
What they want to hear it all.
We take turns. I think not one of us is great at it individually, but we do take turns and keep it active. So there is active posting going on regularly.
Yeah.
We've had seasons where we've had a company doing some posting for us and helping us kind of keep on track with it. And I just think personally, I don't do a lot of social media personally myself, and so it's hard to engage in the social media firestorm that is actually out there. Yeah. So we do our best. We have a pretty big following on it, and we do our best to at least keep people informed and up to date on what's going on.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm on it all the time. We're actually doing Facebook Live right now.
Oh, hey guys!
Hello.
Yeah. So everybody, this is Sanctus Real.
Yes. Someday we're changing our name to that.
Yes.
Someday. Well, guys, I just want to thank you for your time. And the new record is called Changed, and you're single, safe in the Father's arms. Just amazing, great stuff. And we just want to just pray for you, that God would sustain you guys, would encourage you, would keep you just filled to overflowing as you pour out of yourselves, I mean, anybody that's listening that's never toured, I mean, my goodness, it's crazy hard work. It's not glamour. It's not glitz and glamour. And I know, from all of my years doing all the kinds of things, that you pay a price to get to those moments, Mark, like you were talking about, where you feel one with God, just banging out on the kit. It's like you've done 40 hours of work just to get to that moment. So it's a sacrifice. It's fun. There's some great moments, but you guys, we just pray that God would continue to sustain. We know He will, and that He would just meet you at those low lows, and because He's already, He's there at the high highs, but He's there in the low. He's there in the lowest. We can't go anywhere without Him. So we acknowledge you guys. We just acknowledge the legacy of Sanctus Real and all that you're continuing to bring, and so we're gonna check in with you again, awesome. Maybe next year, and just kind of see how things are going for you. How about that?
That sounds great.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Do you have any parting words? Since we have a lot of aspiring songwriters, do you have any parting words at all that would encourage the songwriters listening?
Don't be afraid to write terrible songs. Because some best songs, sometimes, I think a lot of times we think every single song has to be great, but sometimes it's a process that gets it to where it's great. And I actually tell kids this all the time when we're on the road. We are always so afraid. You're always so afraid of being critiqued, because that's what a song's for. You want to show it to people. Except that a lot of times when you don't get the validation you're looking for, we just stop. And there's a lot of really good songwriters who have stopped because somebody didn't like their song. And I would say, don't make that what it's about. Make it about the creativity and the ability, because you'll get better, right? Like we all get better over time. It's practice makes perfect. And you can write 10 terrible ones and one great one. And the great one no one will forget it. And it's an amazing experience. So don't be afraid of writing bad songs.
Great, Dustin. All right, guys.
All right,
thanks
man.
again for being on the show. We're going to be watching, and best wishes, and God be with you on your tour and the release of this new record, Changed.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Blessings. We'll see you.
Take care.
Thanks for listening in today on the Song Revolution podcast. If you're wanting to take your songwriting to the next level, be sure to jump over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com right now to check out all the valuable resources that we have there for you, especially NCS membership, where you can go deeper into a community of like-minded songwriters and tap into encouraging blogs, videos, powerful masterclasses, and a whole lot more to get you where you really want to go. I'll see you next time.